the
Okay,
poster
we're
one.
going to go around the items here and relate the feedback that we've gotten from you. Paul, do you want to share the response of the online folks on number one first, and then I'll pick up with the present folks?
Well, I'm sharing the picture. He's got the Post-it notes on his.
Oh, yeah, you can just display those.
Go to
Don't have to
Zoom.
talk as much.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I probably should go back to Zoom.
Thank you.
There we go. There they are. Hi, online, are you able to see this well?
I keep thinking of Rod saying, can you make that, increase it by 50%? I can read the first one just fine. That third one is a little more difficult.
Ah,
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
Ask and you shall receive.
Oh, yeah.
What really needs to be done is make a response from the school classroom ready.
Let's create the images without being overwhelmed and over limit.
Yeah. And then what did the online folks have to add?
Online folks, do you have anything to add?
If they are, they move.
Unmute now or forever hold your peace.
I want to say one thing. Unless the online folks do talk and you just turn on.
Go for it, Peggy.
One of the things that OMSC looked for as we thought about this year and talking about AI was finding teachers in Ohio who are using AI in their classroom, and we couldn't find anyone. And I looked at the programs for PPM, I looked at everywhere I could think of to look at the, for the education. We can find people to come and talk to us about using AI in classrooms, but we weren't able to find many teachers who are in fact using it. So I issue a challenge. If you know such a teacher, please let us know. So
There are some using it. The ways they're using it differ substantially, at least in the experience I've seen.
So, and the online folks, can you please tell us what you came up with for this first question?
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I have typed down that, we actually, one, we needed to actually use the generator that was provided. We were using just the free version of ChatGPT, not the generator that was created. But other than that, yeah, we talked about pretty much all of this.
In partial response to this item here about coming up with a approved list of activities after you've sort of vetted them and verified them, I think there are some out there already. The Needed Math Project does have scenarios that have been through the process of having been checked and some used and stuff like that. So that's a resource. If you're interested in some of those, you might go out and check. Also, another one that I worked as a consultant on, so I had some hands-on and stuff I can tell you is extremely good, authentic stuff, because it was part of an NSF-funded project out of Wake Tech called CIMI, Connecting Industry to Mathematics Instruction. And they have very well-developed activities complete with videos on them, complete with Desmos activities, complete with student forums, teacher handouts, etc. Very well-developed stuff out of Wake Tech, Connecting Industry to Mathematics Instruction, CIMI. If you're interested in authentic stuff, they brought teams of business and industry folks together with math teachers during the summer, paid stipends, etc., to develop and utilize it. Primarily for North Carolina's fourth-year math course, but they've been used in the community college sector, et cetera, with so, a big resource, lots of stuff.
I suspect an interesting thing that's kind of parallel with this, that finding good curriculum materials, validating good curriculum materials takes people and time. And we had the Ohio Resource Center that was doing that, and they said, stop paying for it.
Yeah, where you go on.
All right,
I thought you were looking for some.
Oh, I was just making a note.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, good. Okay.
on the number 2, Paul.
No, and number 2 for your reference was, what do you see as the benefits and opportunities of using AI in this way? And there are the responses. Which you all provide. I like the brainstorming assistant.
And the third one is just Casey. Not Casey, that's the wrong name. You can learn a lot by just looking.
Didn't observe a lot, I'm just looking.
You can learn a lot just by looking. It was a catcher. I can't think of his name.
Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra, yeah. Yeah. Casey Stengel is who I was thinking of. But I knew it was wrong, so I stopped.
Good metacognition there, Michael.
Every once in a while, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn. Online people, anything to add?
Not to number 2. We had a long discussion about number 3. We'll come in there.
Scared.
All right, move it on.
On to number 3, which was, what do you see as the drawbacks and limitations of using AI in this way?
If only you knew who wrote it out the first time.
Yeah. We'll find.
Well, I'm just so excited to fill up the online.
Take it away, Janet.
I was going to ask Ann Meixel to come in here because she had some wonderful, wonderful comments about, but she just took off for a second. Look, can you ask the others to make their comments? Because Ann's are very, very rich. Just
Okay,
go through the other groups and then come back to us to hopefully Ann will be back then.
we can come back to you because this is the other groups.
On number 4.
Yeah, we'll come back when Ann comes back. Right.
We see this in like y'all's group.
Yeah.
I think number 4 revealed the absolute most information of all of them. That being, if you
Wait. Paul,
options are
did you get 4? That's 5. There you go.
with the school. Yeah. Whoa, somebody elaborated though. Hang on, zoom in on that one in particular.
Sure.
Yeah.
IDK is the popular answer.
So maybe a how will help in that question.
Explain your reasoning.
Okay. Online?
Need more time.
Anybody disagree with this?
No, we're still here.
And I think those comments will spill into 4 as well, because so yeah.
Okay. All right, and finally, number 5.
This is the one I was most interested in hearing your responses to, because this is a question I've had for a long time. How important is it for students to apply their learning to authentic content? Very extremely. And it also seems to be far too rare. Because it's not only.
Part of our issue is in the world is that only 2% of the population are mathematicians. But everybody in God's green earth uses math for either doing taxes or paying the waitress the extra percentage for their service. It just, I think putting things in context makes so much sense to students. And that's what, as Alan Schoenfeld always talked about, making sense of the world is what mathematics is about. But, you know, recognizing those patterns. I just about kissed my granddaughter through the screen one time we were online talking about her geometry, which she initially absolutely hated. And she said, it just makes sense if you do it, if you look for the patterns. And I thought, do you remember back when we were at Ed Bischoff's office trying to define what mathematics was? And it was, we came up with, it's the science of patterns. And this is, you know, seeing all this in real life, meaning in context, I just think makes the students engage more and just see where the mathematics makes sense.
Jan, I'm glad you made that comment. I think that dovetails with the also motivating comment on that card. And it's one that I think we sometimes undervalue. Yet it is more challenging sometimes. Things they deal with messy numbers. There's problems that they can have that they don't have with very contrived application and stuff. But having done it with lots of students, there is a segment of that student population that you will get enthused about doing mathematics when they see it in these applications. They're not sitting back there with that lingering cliche, what am I ever going to use this for question anymore. They can see the relevance of it. I've seen some of those students that were just, honest to God, as disinterested in math as you can possibly imagine, in that classroom, outside of class time, double checking the measurements for their group that they needed to figure out some calculation, something like that, because they wanted to be darn sure that they got it right. And they were enthused about it. And I was like, you haven't been enthused in the past 4 weeks. What all of a sudden happened? Well, I'm doing something with it, for God's sake. So very motivating for a large percentage of those.
Totally agree.
Too often we want to forget that everybody's different as people. And so I'll pick on reading, you know, you get a first book reading teacher and she's reading all these books that she really likes. Well, maybe not all the kids in the classroom like those books. Instead of reading about the rabbit, they want to read about fishing. And this tool, I think, is exactly to do that and also to differentiate. So I know I've got this student who's really interested in becoming an HVAC person or something. And so I come up with HVAC solution or problems for that student that maybe the rest of us aren't going to like, but we've got to get them that problem, and they're going to be.
I think that's an awesome suggestion, Paul, because I remember being in general ed classes of tech math of various kinds, where I've got this person who's going towards a mechatronics program sitting beside this person who's going towards nursing or health, allied health type of program. Coming up with an Ohm's law thing was cool for the one and totally irrelevant to the other. And so how could I meet both of those interests? I don't know, maybe if I've got a cool thing for Ohm's law, can I upload that here and it'll spit out here's a Boyle's law of ideal gas thing or something like that that's relevant to that allied health student.
Yeah, no, well said. I mean, just continue with that. I mean, I think that it is then our human focused pedagogy that then allows us to, maybe a student is really interested in something that we're not gonna necessarily have a task for during that, course for whatever reason. And so how do we truly engage young people in the work and in the experience of being in our classrooms? And how do we help them bring their whole selves into that work, in a way that is engaging and meaningful? And even if it's not, I mean, the idea that their real life is right now, the real world to them is right where they are right now. It's not, 3 years or 8 years down the road. Yeah.
What you were saying, I was thinking, how now with AI, is it going to be possible to easily differentiate your assessment? Individualize your assessment, maybe have a general after test for that class. But you know what, I have enriching questions for people and you have this for this person, reach that, I'm using it than it used to be.
Yeah.
And assessments, nothing to do with just tests.
No,
So, projects is where I've been able to personalize, right? You put the project that you're interested in, can fix the project. She's interested in, Bob fix the project he's interested in. Or at least give students the option to do that. I mean, but then the ones who have elected to pick something that's meaningful to them, they are engaged so much more deeply and learn so much more because they're doing something that matters to them.
So I started thinking about like for all the questions, there's also a message. We're models to our students, whether they know it or not, but we do project like what is important. And I think with AI, it really is going to matter how, like the passion you put into using it and what you're using it for. If you remember, there was a story about using AI for grading, and then the students were very upset, and they actually said they were upset. They thought that the professor was doing that because they just didn't want to do the work. Whereas if they see that you're doing it because you really do want to be responsive to their needs and you're trying to take maybe that extra step, which you would do whether there was AI or not, because that's what good teachers do. And this was one of the things we talked about. This is what good teachers would do, it's like good teaching. It might also have that aspect where there's a transparency that, yes, I am going to use everything that is at my disposal in order to make things more authentic and, that make sense to you in a way.
I want to say, Peggy, you mentioned that we were looking for teachers that was using AI in the classroom. Almost everything we've done is from the teacher side. Okay, is making different types of things for students to use, not kids using. I mean, I don't know exactly what that looks like at this point, but everything we've looked at today is teachers preparing to be in the classroom, to get the examples for HVAC and for whatever else we want, but it's not kids using AI in a math classroom or in a science classroom. And I think there has to be some way to do it. We managed to do when they start calculations away from us, so we're sure that we can do. I think it's asking different types of questions, but I don't know quite how to say it.
They're using it, but not very effectively, but not in the classroom.
I think that's in the humanities have their own calculator problem right now.
No, but even in math. Right. Yeah, math, I Yeah. saw I have
Go ahead.
I was there too long now. My son the other day was working on a math homework and he was done very quickly. And I'm like, explain to me what you did. He said, it's right. And I'm like, but why? And they take a picture of the problem.
Well, the picture math has been around for a while, yeah. And it can even give you all the steps.
Yeah, and yeah, they told us at a webinar one time, they said, if the questions you're asking can be answered by you need to ask it.
Mhm.
So, because like when we were just talking about COVID and being on Zoom, and I remember being on Zoom with my third graders, and I had asked them like 3 times 4 or something like that. And somebody said, Siri, what's 3 times 4? And I
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, like the social studies teacher I know said that you can look it up on the internet. Not a good question.
Yeah.
And we, as math teachers, we've adjusted to calculate it. We ask questions that can't be answered by pushing buttons. I think that the humanities will come to that with chat.
And we've asked questions to make sure that they know how to use the calculator also.
Yeah, right.
Because part of what we're trying to teach is, how to do work on paper and pencil, how to do work with technology. I remember this is 20 years ago. There's a linear algebra, profit at Appalachian State, and said, I want them to be able to do things, by hand. I want them to be able to do some calculations with larger matrices that I would never want them to do by hand, because it was such a waste of time. And he had some things that were sort of CAS, computer algebra system. So he ended up giving a portion of the test, which they weren't allowed to use any technology. Some where they used calculation, and then some where they were using CAS, because he wanted them to know how to use all those tools. Because when they went on to actually use that in their major for whatever reason, we wanted them to be able to draw on all those tools. So it's not just, and with AI, thinking that through might be non-trivial, how do you get students to use AI in ways that you want them to, and we're just taking baby steps now, I think, for that.
Yeah, I'll just add to that list, mental mathematics.
Oh, yeah.
And also, they have an idea of when to use which one.
Right, and I've worked with teachers who, when I say mental mathematics, they think I mean paper and pencil.
Oh.
Well, on all of those, you use your mind, but this is like, sit on your hand and tell me how to do this.
And Bernard Kuchler, you remember Bernard Kuchler? Well, he was a big CAS guy. I really liked him talking about compensation. If we say you should use CAS appropriately and so on, and he used a story. If I wanted to go from here to get a drink of water, would I get no. Just like 3 times 4, right? Go to Siri. No. Okay. But
well, if you're in 3rd grade.
No. Appropriate.
So I have a question. How many of you would do a stats problem where you input a bunch of information and need to find standard deviation? How many of you do that by hand when you have, let's say, 30 data sets? Okay. Those of
divide by the, the mean and whatnot.
Those of you who were teaching prior to graphing calculators and spreadsheets and all those other wonderful things, how many of you did it by hand?
Yeah.
Because it was the only way, right?
Right.
And so now if you're teaching stats, what do you teach?
How to
Do
use
you
the
teach how to
calculator.
do it?
How to load the data into the calculator.
And then what do you,
Standing
and the questions that you ask are not how you put it in there, right? The questions that you ask are
Conceptual.
what does it mean, right?
Yeah.
Maybe use mean absolute deviation versus.
Don't you see an analogy here?
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I think for me personally, one of the big issues right now is, again, the energy, the water usage, all the types of information that are feeding into these systems and the types of information that are not feeding into these systems. And to me, I'm gonna use this term very loosely, but I think it's an exponentially greater issue than using a computation machine to calculate things for us. Yeah. And
It's a different world.
yeah.
every minute. All right. Thank you all.